you literally bought a car for $75,000 and now, 2 weeks later you find out that that same car is selling for $55,000. How are you still a fan of the company when someone does that?
I don't think I've ever seen in the history of any kind of car like that.
I'm not sold on the whole EV thing.
Corporations and politicians go together like fucking peanut butter and jelly.
Stories in California came out that by 2030 or 2035, all gas cars are going to be, gone. So, Tesla, let's go ahead and get in on the topic and share why we actually think that they're losing the lead, their market share, and why we think that they're not going to be the most successful automaker, or at this point they're probably not an automaker, they're a software business more so that they are an automaker.
I don't necessarily think that they're not gonna be good, because I mean they've been fantastic for years. That's the thing, they're the lead for the top EV company for cars, right? But in the last couple of years, especially after COVID and everything happened, and the big other topic of like the planet and climate change and stuff, trying to make fossil fuels less, things like that nature. But like you said, Tesla, some can argue, is only a car company, whereas others, like ourselves, think it's more a software company.
Right. Well, I mean, look what's happening. You said they were leaders, right? Mm-hmm. They have been leaders, but where was the competition? I mean, it's easy to lead when there is no competition, right? Yeah. They literally built their names, and then until, the whole EV hype happened, when COVID happened, there was no competition, right? And now all of a sudden, all this competition starts coming in. I'm still surprised people are choosing Tesla. I'm pretty sure it's only the fanboys, the Tesla fanboys, right? They're very, very crazy about Tesla and Elon Musk. But apart from that, to me personally, I like Tesla, but I like design better than whatever's in the car itself, right? That's the first thing that draws me in first. Well, all of a sudden, there are cars that are coming out with way nicer designs than they have. I don't really care what else they have going on. I mean, of course, I wanted to drive 400 miles, to a charge, or however you want to put it. But now you got these other companies that are even going further on a charge.
Well, I don't know. Does Tesla even have a car that goes over 400? I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe close to 400. I think 300 to 400 is their range. But now you see the new Porsche that just came out, the electric one.
EV version of the Macan, whatever it is.
That's a beautiful car, right? I would definitely buy that over a Tesla, in my opinion. It even goes 500, I think, miles to a charge, which is more than the Tesla vehicles. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's got something that he's going to release in the next 1 or 2 years that's going to be even better than what these car or Porsche, Ford or whoever is making the other electric vehicles. But I don't know. I feel like they're going at a very slow speed and that is because they didn't have competition, right? Because look how long it takes them to actually update their designs.
Well, I don't think there has been.
I don't even know if there has been.
For the Model 3 or the X or the Y, I mean, the biggest, most radical change to their lineup has been the Cybertruck.
Right.
Which to me is hideous.
They're adding vehicles, right?
But the 3, the X, and the Y, the silhouette of the car
hasn't changed.
Minimal it hasn't changed, but they're it's the same silhouette. It's just a sedan and an SUV and two a mid-size SUV and a full-size SUV, minivan style, right? It's that wavy kind of silhouette, whereas the Cybertruck is boxy, sharp lines. That is the biggest difference to obviously their lineup and their look of cars, because they could have made the Cybertruck design look like, you know, the Y with just a bed, and it would have been fit into everything else that they've made, you know, looks wise. But they did such a radical change, which some people love it and some people hate it.
Right. I mean, I'm not sure why they built it like that. Maybe there's some reason. Maybe they truly just like the design. I don't know. I don't know enough about Tesla to make those, you know, to have that, make that assumption. But I don't know. Just for me personally, I feel like there are so many of those reasons why they are not going to win at the end. Because you saw what was happening recently when everybody started to get into market, like Tesla. You could charge so much money when you're the only one, right? But the moment people like these other automakers came in, what happened to the prices?
Dropped.
Why?
Slashed.
Why?
I mean, you got Hyundai.
You got
Hyundai
options.
is making cars, that electric cars. I mean, there are electric cars that you could get 20, 30K. You know, obviously the Tesla, whatever, Model 3 came to be in that price point. But you have, with all these other automakers, you have that loyalty, you know. You have people who, big Chevy, big Ford people, you know, Hyundai, Toyota, Nissan. Everybody's loyal to a brand, right?
Right.
Like we have with Booking Koala. We have people that are so loyal to us that have been from the start and won't leave, or who have even joined us after trying others and won't leave because they're loyal to XYZ for it. But with Tesla, I think the underlying part of, there were two parts to the prices dropping, right? It's that all the other big manufacturers are dropping tens of millions of dollars on, you know, R&D to make their own cars, their own EV cars. So there's that. But what's another reason why you slash prices on something when you're a product? Well, you have something new coming out, right?
Right.
So you're prepping for it. So they're trying to get as much of their stock that they currently have of the production of those parts and those cars out the door before they start ramping up the new designs.
And I did see that, honestly, like there's new updated designs coming out. At least I'm not 100% sure if this is confirmed, but I've seen like articles of it. So yeah, you're right. Maybe they've slashed prices because they want to, you know, get rid of all the inventory and, you know, mark up the new designs by 20 or 30,000. But like what you were saying just now with the branding, right? You have these loyal fans and supporters that stick with your brand. What do you do now that you literally bought a car for $75,000 and now, you know, 2 weeks later you find out that that same car is selling for $55,000? How are you still a fan of the company when someone does that?
We know somebody who got affected by that personally. You know,
we do.
Sorry, but he ends up buying a, you know, a Plaid, and at full price, brand new, and gets screwed within a couple months when the prices dropped drastically.
Right.
And it happens, but I don't think I've ever seen in the history of any kind of car like that where you already own it and it's getting slashed that much
and that
months
quickly.
later. And that quickly.
Right. So like now, let's say you buy a Tesla, why won't it happen again? Why wouldn't he do it again? You don't know that. You don't know that. So like, yes, EVs do lose value faster than gas cars, right? There is, obviously it's already there. You could see it, you could look it up. But on top of that, you're still slashing prices. So now it's like, to me, if I'm looking at from more of a investment perspective, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fanboy of Tesla. Like that would be the worst investment that you could make, in my opinion. Just look at what's happening, right?
I love how you're calling them fanboys. That's
I mean, but it is what it is. Every company
true,
has them. Apple has, right, a very big cult, you could call it, right? I'm a huge Apple fan. I mean, could be part of that.
We've been using Apple for 10 plus
Right.
years only. Like,
But they are losing me slowly because of all the upcharges that they're doing for every stupid little thing. I don't like that, but that's, and I don't think you do either, right?
No.
Like that's crazy. But that's a topic for a different day. So yeah, like I was saying, like I used to think that I could maybe buy a Tesla, right? Now when you see those things, why would I? Why would I? You know?
I mean, let's go into design again more so, not with the changes that they've lacked, but what initially when they came out, they were the sharpest freaking car on the road, right? Everybody, you even till today, you look on the street and even people who aren't big car people, they know it's a Tesla.
And you're talking design wise, right?
And this is design wise,
Not
yeah.
actually what was happening.
Right.
Because from the things I was hearing, they are right. Like they break down from day one.
Yeah,
like we're just talking design, sharp
design, yeah.
from a design perspective.
I mean, my Uber here today was a Tesla, and you know when it pulled in, obviously I knew what it was, but just they started with the handles, the door handles that were flush, right, and then they came out. Now you can see Range Rover has it with their, I think it's the Velar or something. They've adopted to that sleek, flush door handle. It's, you get in the car, you sit down, you know, the seats, the way they hug you are a certain way. You can say that with other brands, yes. But even just sitting in the back seat, looking into the front, the dash, there really isn't another dash that's so minimalistic and simple, yet so sharp.
Right.
Like, I believe it is a fantastic looking dash with the giant, you know, basically iPad for a screen.
Not everybody likes it, though.
No.
But it does look unique.
But you know what it is, right? Like, you could put a blind comparison of two just like pictures of a dashboard, right? For like a Hyundai, again, Toyota, Nissan, whatever, for a random sedan, call it Nissan Altima or Maxima, whatever. Take the emblem off the steering wheel, put them side by side, and go to more non-car people and ask them, what do you think this car is? Or just the maker, not even the exact car, but who is the maker of this brand? Like, and then for Tesla, we've never done the experiment. I don't want to throw out numbers. My assumption is going to be a lot more people are going to know the Tesla dash over the whatever brand is shown on the other side.
But most people don't really care about that. Most people care about how the car...
Don't they, though?
No, because when you think about it, most people care about money. Like, how can I save money? They want a good investment. That's what they're looking for. That's always number one. You don't want to get ripped off.
The two biggest purchases you make in your life is buying a home, condo, townhouse, whatever, you know, where you live, and your car purchase, right? Those are going to be the two biggest expenses you have in your life.
Right.
So obviously, when you're buying new and you want longevity, obviously you want to maximize your money. And you're going with it's not the case, right?
Right. No, it's definitely not the case, because that's another reason why I believe they lowered prices, right? It's because they want to tailor to a bigger market. At first, you test on those people that want to buy these items, right? That are going to pay the premium, that you don't want to say got suckered in, but they just, you know, got sold on the idea why they should own the Tesla, right? And they're the first buyers always, right? But then there's only so many of them. Now, in order to get more people to buy, you have to open it up to the mass market. Well, that's why. And just that's going back to my point, why people care about money and making the right choices when it comes to big purchases like that. Because if that wasn't the case, they would have never, you know, reduced prices. Why would you? If people are buying it, clearly you can't get enough of them in the door. You have to do that, right?
Right.
So yes, design and all these cool things are important, but that's never number one. Otherwise, I can guarantee you people think there are nicer cars out there than Tesla from a design perspective.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they buy
You're
something?
one of them.
Who?
You're one of, I mean, we're both those people, right? We both believe that there are other designs
Oh yeah, for sure.
of the current lineup of what Tesla has. There are way better design, like the Porsche Panamera.
Oh, there's so many nicer cars out there. Tesla wouldn't even make it in the top 30 probably if we had to like name nice cars, right?
I wouldn't go that far, but like, or you're saying like individual cars? Or
Yeah,
car
individual
makers?
cars. I'm just talking about individual cars. I'm just saying why not even EV anymore? Why just purchase Tesla over some other car, you know?
My biggest thing, I mean, you know, me and Jess, we share one car. I sold my car a couple years ago because we live together. We don't need two cars. And she works nights. I work during the days. So no point, right? I had the Hyundai Sonata 2011. That thing was as long as my dad's Murano, you know, long as shit. So we went with her Chevy Cruze. Living in the city, you could park it anywhere. The gas mileage is fantastic. And with the gas mileage, living in a state and a city where winter 6 months out of the year is 40 and under, you know, with EVs, the battery life doesn't last the colder it gets, right? So that's one of the biggest downsides for me is that the range isn't huge. You can't, unless you're paying top dollar for it, you're not going to get over 350 miles per charge. And two, in the wintertime when it's cold as shit here, you could literally be driving down the road and watch the battery percentage tick away every couple seconds. That's insanity, you know? So people who live in warmer climates, you know, California, Texas, Florida, all year round, they don't have to deal with that. So that's fine for them.
It benefits them a little bit more.
It benefits them more,
yeah,
for sure. But there are several factors into why I wouldn't buy a Tesla in specific for both of those reasons, because their range isn't huge, and for the other reason, that's going to go for EVs across the board.
Right?
Right, because of being cold, and now it drops so quickly. If I had a 500-mile range EV or 600-mile range EV,
Which there might be, but now we're talking $100,000 to spend on a car, right?
Then I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll consider it, because in the wintertime I can get 350, whereas that's what it's peak in summertime for a Tesla. Right.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. For me, yeah, I'm not sold on the whole EV thing just yet. And it comes down to the money, right? Because when you look at it, buying an electric vehicle from a money perspective, it seems like it's the right thing to do, right? Because you just save so much money by charging up the car. And that's where they try to hook you, plus the incentives and stuff that you get in buying one.
And then obviously all the other things that you don't need, like, to pay for, right?
Right.
You're paying for tires and brakes.
Right.
And then charging.
Yeah.
Whereas in, you know, traditional combustion cars, you're got so much more.
Yeah, and I mean, but when you look deeper into it, it really doesn't, the math doesn't come out into a favor of the EV, right? Of the electric vehicle. It honestly favors the gas car, because when you look at how much value the car loses over time compared to a gas car, that alone right there literally makes the gas car be a better choice, right? So I'm just not sold on that right now.
Play devil's advocate here a little bit. Would you think it has anything to do with the traditional car makers that have been in the game for decades upon decades versus Tesla being new and disrupting the market so bad that these other big name car brands are kind of pushing it down too, in a sense, somehow. I'm not saying it's true, but could it be?
No, I don't think so. I think it's more so that the technology is changing so quickly in those cars that the last year's models become outdated, and the only thing you can do is lose value on the car, right? Like there's just no other way. So that's what I think the main reason is. But now on top of it, if you do buy a car like Tesla and that happens and then you slash the prices, then you're really in the hole.
Well, you're in the hole, and now you've got such a bad taste in your mouth that once you get out from under being fucked by that payment, you're never going to touch that car again. Like, you will never
I'm 95% sure I won't touch that car. Our friend we know was not going to touch that car.
And he still has it.
And he's still, well, because you can't get rid of it at this point, right? It's like, what are you going to do? You just
he basically has to pray for a natural disaster to happen,
right?
And the car gets totaled out.
Yeah. And he's not the only person that feels like that, right? There's so many people that made that choice and lost so much money and have to stick with it. That's why I would never want to be put in that situation and even trust someone with my money that potentially already not only did that, but potentially is going to do it again, right? That's why I don't get the hype. And how can you stick with some brand that literally does those things? So, and hopefully I'm proven wrong and they do something phenomenal and reward those early buyers. But I just don't see how that's going to happen.
I think if you're in the middle, like both of us, because, we both still have gas cars. You got your Durango. We have, the little marshmallow Chevy
And I don't
Cruze.
think I would, I don't think I would buy an EV for many, many years.
Would you consider a hybrid? Because that's what I'm looking to next. If once, we're ready to get something bigger, because, we're looking to start a family and we have kids, I want an SUV. So would you look at getting a hybrid? Because my personal favorite car right now is the Jeep Gladiator. So the 4-door, basically Wrangler,
and it's hybrid?
slapped with a pickup truck on it, right? And you could get it in a hybrid. It's not cheap, but you get best of both worlds.
You do. I've actually had a discussion with someone who thinks that hybrid is the next, I guess the next big thing before EV takes over. And it's going to be there for a long time. And I've had this opinion as well. So I do think EV is the better option at this moment.
EV or hybrid?
I mean, hybrid, 100% hybrid, not EV. So if anything, I would get a hybrid over an EV any day, personally. But for now, I'm going to stick to the gas cars.
It's just, they're moving as fast as possible with the, charging stations, but it's also, how long does it take for me to fill up my car from empty to full is under 90 seconds.
I don't even know how long it takes to do a EV. Minutes for sure.
Many
minutes.
I'm going to look it up real quick.
Well, back in the day, like 10 years ago, I think I went one time with a friend to get his car charged. It took like an hour and a half sitting there at the station. Now I think it's much quicker, but it's still a long time, right?
So Tesla's, according to their support, allows you to charge your vehicle up to 200 miles in 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Is that with the supercharger?
That's with the supercharger.
So you have to sit for 15 minutes.
That's 15 minutes on a supercharger. Not even just a regular charger.
I mean, sure, there's going to be people that are going to argue with us. Yeah, I could be on my phone. I could be working on business. But come on, who really wants to sit there for 15 minutes, right?
And then they're going to also argue, well, how often am I going to be away from somewhere? Like, it's more road trip stuff, right? And that's kind of where you see with any car, whether it's electric or gas, long range, long highway driving is when you get the best mileage, you know, put it at constant, you know, cruise control at 65. If you're following speed limits,
Right.
you know, that's where you'll get the most for your money. But how many people are using these for long range travel?
You actually brought a good point that I didn't even think about, right? I've made a trip from Florida to Chicago
Several times.
And, you know, I'm a guy that likes to get things done quickly. So every time I would like to get this done in one shot, right? So if it's a 19-hour drive that you're doing, that already feels long. You want to get home as quick as possible, right? So now you have an electric vehicle, and now you have to charge your car, I would say 3 or 4 times. Now you've added an extra hour, maybe
That's at the
2
fast charger.
At the fast, okay. So, but you would probably need to go to the supercharger, which I think also costs money, right?
But what happens if they're all taken?
Oh, you gotta wait.
And then there's a line. So now you're waiting even longer.
Yeah, given that probably will improve, right? There's gonna be
Sure,
more and more
but
of them.
as of now,
it's like that adds an extra 1 hour to 2 hours when you're driving that far
You're
of
pissed
a
off.
distance. I just want to get home. I'm trying to get there as fast as possible. This just slowed me down for 2 hours. So when you take that into account, I would choose hybrid any day if I had to, pick between hybrid or EV. Because if you are doing that, that's beneficial to you. And there's been, not just in that scenario, because that's kind of a stretch, right? Not many people are going to be doing that often where it's really going to make that much of a difference. But there are times where it's like you forget to charge, right? Or you forget to fill up, and then you're going somewhere.
Jess, this is for you. You leave me on the gas light every time, so
Exactly.
I know it's going to be me suffering at that charging station.
Exactly.
If we got an EV.
Now what? Now what's going to happen? You get into your car, you got to be somewhere on time, and then you find out that you're literally got 5 miles to go or something like that. You got to wait and sit. Like, I'm not sold on the whole EV thing, and yeah, I mean that's my opinion.
Well, and that, now the batteries too, right?
They're expensive.
They're expensive as shit, and yeah, they last longer than a traditional car battery. But it's what Tesla's whole bottom of the floorboard is the battery, right?
Is the battery? Yeah,
So,
I don't even know.
It's just going into environmental stuff again now, where it's safer or better that they're fighting that it's better for the planet, right? Because it's not fossil fuels there, but you still need the cobalt and all the other things to make the batteries, which now you're burning more fossil fuels
Right.
just to make the battery. And then when the battery is dead, how do you recycle it?
Right. Yeah, that's another argument that people have all the time, that this is so much, EVs are so much better for the environment, and then you have people that are going to kind of say that argument that it's not. Maybe it's a little bit better, but they're both bad. I don't know enough about it to even make a comment, but I do read those things. So it's like, I don't know if that's a good enough argument to say that, okay, EV is better than a gas car. Maybe you know more about the topic. Which one is actually better from an environmental?
I don't know statistics, so I'm not going to say numbers-based things, just articles that I've read and heard things from people who own EVs who are also not sold because, they got, I wouldn't want to call it a lemon per se, but slightly defective where whatever their numbers were quoted, what they're supposed to be getting, they're not getting.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe if that's the case, then that's the checkpoint that, EVs would kind of check off. But that wouldn't even be enough because, people, like, they don't care about the environment enough, majority of them, to make that claim and say, I'm going to go with that choice versus it's saving me money, right? So everybody's always going to be money first, environment second. And that's not to say that people are bad or anything. It's just how life is, you know? Like, they don't want to struggle. Who wants to struggle personally, right? You're going to say, I'm going to choose what makes my life easier, which is paying less for a car, right? So it's like, even if EVs would win that argument, it still wouldn't be enough unless government tried to ban them for that reason or whatever, which, you know, they already tried, or they're trying, because stories in California came out that by 2030 or 2035, all gas cars are going to be, you know, gone. I'm pretty sure that thing is, I don't think, in effect anymore. I might be incorrect, but in my opinion, what are they trying to do? What they do best. They try to instill fear in people so that they could sell these cars and pump up the numbers. And who knows, some company might be behind this, you know, paying someone, telling them, let's release this article or whatever, that, you know, so we could sell more EVs. You never know.
What's my favorite thing to talk about? Like, when it's just me and you.
Snake oil.
Well, absolutely, it's snake oil, but it's the I don't want to call it the foundation. I'm gonna sound like a tinfoil hat dude right now, but corporations and politicians go together like fucking peanut butter and jelly.
For sure. Take away the corporations and we might honestly get somewhere.
Pay the politicians through lobbying and stuff. And then what do the politicians then go and do? Then they go into the stock market and fuck with the stock market, buying up the corporations or shorting it down to get a better price. And then it's just through back doors, they're all patting each other on the fucking back.
It just goes round and round.
And the whole left versus right thing, they're trying to make it so much so more again, like push the sides against each other, because behind closed doors,
it benefits them. Of course.
And I'm not saying every single politician is like that.
Right.
I think truly majority start off with trying to make the world a better place. But the further along you get in your career, the more you know and see that things work a certain way.
Right.
And again, never been in politics, never been a politician, but sitting on the computer 12, 14 hours a day and just reading everything I've come across, it's like...
It just wouldn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It just wouldn't make sense. The things that go on wouldn't make sense unless something is happening behind the scenes to better their needs or agenda, whatever you want to call it.
And they try to throw, big things at you to deter you or scare you. They don't want to make anything
like the EV
clear.
Thing, I'm telling you,
they don't want to make
it
anything clear. There's one, I think he's a congressman out of North Carolina that I follow, only politician I follow. I mean, I follow the official POTUS account on Twitter and like the White House just to get like kind of updates on that. But on a personal level, I think his name is Jeff Jackson. He literally sits down and does like reels and TikToks where he breaks it down on like a second grade level to show you how it works, like how things are going along and what precedents are happening. Like he's doing what we're trying to do with the show, right? And like open up people's minds and educate them and not bullshit
trust
them, right?
Everything they see.
Right. Continue to learn and question everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. Because in my opinion, that stuff that happened in California, something is going on behind it because they wanted to sell more cars. And won't you, if the government tells you that the car that you're about to buy today, which let's say is gas, is not going to be, it's going to be worth nothing in 10 years or less than that, how can you buy that car? It's putting fear in your mind because who's going to buy it when you can't, right? Mm-hmm. It's literally worth nothing. You have to buy the EV. Where do you think those, numbers came from during those last 4 years that they were pumping up through there? It's all this kind of stuff, That's why EVs are in hype for the past 3 or 4 years and everybody's saying we're buying them. It's because of these things.
Well, we had a friend who used to work for a company, and he told me that he worked with one of the big car manufacturers, or the car manufacturer made a contract with his company because they did automation stuff. One of these big car manufacturers dropped $35 or $40 million on these automation machines for their EV factory. And that was a couple years ago. And now it's getting pushed down, like pushed back, and the size is getting smaller. So you can see something's going on where
you know what's going on, in my opinion? People are starting to wake up and realize what is actually true with EVs, and they're not buying as many of them. And that's what I think is happening. So what's the natural choice by everybody that's selling cars? You go back and wait for the next hype that could happen in the next 5 or 10 years or whatever they figure out to do to get you to buy more EVs, right?
You want to know what I think it is, at least for this year of 2024?
What?
What are we in? We're in election year. So if the whole thing of pushing electric cars is down, now you got the chip shortage is a lot better. There's so much inventory that, dealerships are sitting on for new cars. So gas cars are going to be a lot less inexpensive, and people are going to be buying them. With the summer coming around, gas, I see,
Going
could
down.
potentially go down and show that, hey, it's not as bad as we thought, until the election comes into the place at the end of the year and we go from there. That I'm just
Right.
speculating, but
Well, I think that is what happens. Like this year, if Joe Biden wants to be reelected, he has to do something for the people. What do? I mean, you literally try to drive the prices down, because what do people want the most right now? Everything to go down, right? Mortgages, gas prices, groceries, everything, right? So you have to drive those things down. So, but that's a different, I guess, topic that we could talk about some other time. But basically just kind of goes to show you that they're in control of what they want to do, because who says, okay, he wins, and then he starts to work on a new plan to drive everything up again. It's just for that moment. What they need for that moment is what happens, right?
right.
That's how it goes. So you cannot believe anything.
Going into that a little bit, for at least election stuff, with Biden, when he was going into this presidential term, he was running on, student loan, how he was going to wipe it for everybody. And now so many people are bitching, like, where is it? Where did it happen? But if you look, billions of dollars have been forgiven. You could look into it more, and it's like specific people have gotten it because they've been making payments for 10 years already, and it's stuff like that. But it ties into the politics of people pushing what they need to at that point, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Going then, the biggest thing was student, and it still is. Student loan payments it's absolutely insanity what colleges and universities can get away with for allowing an 18-year-old to sign up for $250,000 in debt that realistically they could probably never pay off in their lifetime, unless they get an insanely good job fairly quickly,
right?
And
or they get a scholarship,
or you get, well, that's a scholarship, that's not into the loans, yeah. But it just shows that things are done in nothing is done just because. There is
but you can't
no
have
chance.
a beer at 18 years old, right? But you can get yourself in whatever $250,000 in debt, and you might never use it, right? Whatever you learned, or whatever degree you've gotten, right? You might never even use it. So it's like, yeah, that's crazy stuff, I think.
And then that gets passed on, like, say, this is going to be a little bit morbid, but 10, 15 years after you graduate, you tragically die, and you still got $200,000 in debt that gets passed on to your family. Now they got to deal with it. In what fucking world?
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say about that stuff. So,
like, do I think it's this that could be a whole several episode take on, so we'll save it for then.
But yeah, I mean,
tech too, in relation to EV is I think now even the bigger car manufacturers, Toyota, Ford, or GM, all of them are realizing too that it's not just a physical product of the car, it's the software that goes behind it. BMW, there was an article that I saw that you have heated seats in the car, but now it's a monthly subscription to be able to use it. Are they out of their fucking mind?
And this is confirmed, or this is just something that's like trending or something?
I'll pull it up
because,
right now.
I mean, if anybody does that, I'm definitely not buying a car from them, because that's crazy. Like in 5 or 10 years, everybody's going to start doing that, though, if the first person doesn't, and then you won't have a choice but to actually go in and buy all the subscription, right? It's going to be for heated steering wheel, might be a whole package. Then I don't know if you want to activate.
So it was a thing.
It was a thing?
It was a thing. And then
they were testing.
September 7, 2023, there's an article here that says BMW drops their plan to charge a monthly fee. Probably most likely because they got fucking roasted. Well, people saw how stupid it was.
But they were testing it. How crazy is that? Because everything in the world is going into subscriptions, right? That is the huge trend that's been going on for the past 10 years, maybe more.
Look at your phone now. Your phone is basically, everything is on payments.
Everything.
A house, your mortgage, 15, 30-year mortgage. Your car note, same concept, 5,
right,
6, 7, 10-year car note.
Right.
Your phone now, there's no contract, but you have a $1,100 little computer in your pocket that you're paying $25 a month for a couple of years. And it's like, okay, if you decide to leave your phone carrier, it's either you pay off the rest of your phone or you hand in the phone that, let's say you already paid $700 into and you have another $350 to go.
Right.
People can argue you don't need such an expensive phone, right? But the way society is working and creating things is that they make it so that everything is attainable and accessible on these big smartphones at that price point.
True. Yeah, so of course, like if they know that's the trend and that's where everything is going, why wouldn't you test the idea, hey, if people are buying these subscriptions, might as well, you know? And who knows if they're killing it for now. Maybe they did a little test. Well, they actually haven't released anything, so they couldn't have gotten a test except get reactions and see how people are going to take it. But who knows? Maybe somewhere, you know, in a small niche, they're going to start implementing this to see if people are actually buying them. And then, you know, one day, if they see, okay, yeah, people are actually buying these things, let's do it, you know? What happens then? What are you going to do if that starts happening? You have your $1,000 monthly payment for a car, whatever it is, and then you got extras, which, you know, stack up to another $300 or $400 because they want to charge you for subscriptions. If there's car manufacturers that don't do that or car brands that don't do that versus the ones that do, which ones are you sticking with?
The ones that don't.
The ones that don't? But what if all of them do it then? Because that's when it becomes a problem, right? One goes, then usually they follow. I believe, you know, if you're a good person and if you're like somewhat of a good company, that's where you put a stand and be like, okay,
we're not doing this shit.
Yeah, we're not doing this. And that's how I feel like we are with certain things, right? Like we actually want to do things for people with Booking Koala, and we don't do certain things like that. So, and that's why we don't want investors either, you know, because an investor comes in, they're going to be like, well, the first thing you can do right now, because, you know, you can raise prices, right? Because they don't care about the customer. At the end of the day, they truly care about themselves, right? They want to cash out of the business. So it's like, if someone's building a good brand, maybe Ford or some company like that, they might say, okay, we're not going to do that. And that's when I think they can win, because I'm not a Ford guy. I mean, I like their pickup trucks and stuff like that, but now I would probably become a Ford guy because they're showing you at least that they care about the customer and not the bottom line, right?
Right. some can argue that with EVs, because you don't have the engine and stuff like that, where things aren't built to last anymore, right? Stuff that was built in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even up until the 80s, cars would last. I mean, you still see cars from those days last. You get a car, start from like the late 90s, early 2000s, they got to be maintained meticulously for them to last a long time now, right? But back then, stuff was built durably to last. With EVs, I'm not saying they're not built to last, but having much less components in them that can break, where now the manufacturer can make more money on those things breaking, it's not there, right?
Right.
Like with a gas car, you know, a brake line, a fuel line, you know, a serpentine belt or a
Yeah,
cap
you're getting
or something.
too technical, and
Like,
I have no idea
those
about any of
things,
that
like
stuff.
just any
yeah, I get what you're saying.
random parts break, you know, the manufacturer is making money off those things, right? Because they're not making the car as durable, so things wear out a lot faster, and now they can make money on those extra
They
parts.
mark things up, but keep the quality, or the quality goes down, but the prices go up, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's...
So now with EVs, you have the software behind it that runs it. One of the dumbest things I think Tesla has done is put video games in the car. Like, at what point am I going to see myself playing a freaking Mario Kart in the car? The only time would be when I'm stuck trying to charge it.
But is it
for
like
20 minutes?
Can't the kids play it or something like that? Like,
You can only play it in park.
only in park?
And it's
Oh, they probably did that so when you're charging up, you have something to do, right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
then
Or it could be from a marketing perspective, you know, so they have something to market. Some things are just done for marketing, right?
and having those games in the car, somebody has to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
And it's ultimately the user.
I would like to actually know like the statistics of how many people play video games in a Tesla, you know?
I mean, shit. I have a PlayStation 4, PS5, an Xbox. I love video games. Never in my mind am I going to think, I'm going to play a video game in my car. Like, you go through a car wash. Car wash is 60 seconds.
More likely you're going to go on social media through that 60 seconds than you are to play a video game.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And if I'm waiting to charge for 20 minutes, that's the one time I can see myself playing the game. But I would have other things in front of that in line to be like, I got to do that. Like, I would rather call somebody and get a phone call taken care of, or several emails to do before I'm going to be like, let me play Mario Kart while my car charges. Cool concept. Like,
maybe Tesla's only for like the super, super rich that don't have anything to do. They just buy a Tesla, but they probably have people driving them around anyway, so that wouldn't matter. But yeah, maybe it is for those rich people that literally just buy it and drive around, just play video games and don't do anything. Who knows?
But you can't drive and play the game.
That's right. I keep forgetting.
You
so it
have
makes
to be
no sense.
parked.
Yeah, really doesn't make sense to me then. Because if you like your kid, right, could play it or something, then it would kind of make sense. Really? Is it only for when you're parked?
It's a safety issue if it's not.
How come like the other cars, you know, like the minivans or something, they have TVs in the back and stuff? Like,
Because they're in the back. They're not distracting the driver.
and Tesla doesn't have any in the back? You can't. You probably just have to put your iPad in if you want.
Yeah.
Your kid. Okay. Because that actually made sense. You know, you keep your kid quiet or something on a
Or like
trip.
in the old school days where the minivans had the TV up like towards the front, but that was like still above the drivers. They'd have to go like this and look up to see it. Now they're all right aligned with the driver's shoulder, so they can't watch, you know?
Strange. I mean, maybe Elon Musk will tell us why he did that. Maybe there's a good reason. Maybe people are using it like crazy. We don't even know
Maybe
about
there
it.
is, but then in my mind, I don't see it. I don't.
Right.
I would have to see numbers, statistics, and stuff. Independent statistics. I'm not going to
Not
go
released
with
by
Tesla,
Tesla.
statistics because you can't trust the company that it's, it's
Right.
theirs. Going into the battery issue again, that's like it's taking up space within the software, which is draining power. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I think we made a fair argument, but for like the end of the video, I guess. So which way are you leaning? Will Tesla end up as the winner of all EVs? And also, when do you think EV will take over, or if they will take over?
I'll start with the second part. Or do I think EVs will be 100% of the cars on the ground ever? No. In the 90s, 90% and up, yes. 20 years.
Is 20 years
In
for which
20
part?
years.
That all of them
That will be closer, over the 50%
of EVs.
of all cars are EVs. Yeah.
Okay.
Is Tesla going to be number one long term?
Let's say like not 100 years, because anything could happen in then,
Right.
but like a more realistic time frame.
Within
like
the 20 years?
Yeah.
Well, keep it to 20
Yeah.
years. You can't count out Elon. That's all I have to say. I could definitely see it, yes. And I could also see no. But he's brilliant, So, and he definitely hires other brilliant people as well. He could also get out of the car industry as a whole within 5 or 10 years from now. We don't know. But with Rivian and all these Lucid and all these other EV car companies coming out on top of the traditional car manufacturers that are getting into the game, it's up for grabs because they have caught up now.
What's crazy is that Apple actually just released, I think this week, that they're out of the...
They're stopping.
Yeah, they're stopping. Why? I don't know. There's probably something behind it, or that they see that the hype is kind of done and it's going to be, gas and hybrid for the next 20 years. So in my...
Yeah, what do you think?
What do I think? I think the next 20 years is going to be gas and hybrid. I definitely don't think EVs are going to be 50% or higher. I don't think it's even going to be close to that. Do I think in 50 years EVs are going to be successful? I'll go with yes. I think that's when it's going to be closer to the 50%, because you have to factor in other things. Like if oil's going away, there are people that are doing what sorts of stuff to make sure oil is here to stay. You cannot overlook these things. So yes, Tesla and EV makers are fighting their case to bring in EV, but then there are also people fighting the case where oil cannot go away, right? And gas and stuff like that, right? So it's a battle that nobody sees, right? And so in 20 years, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I think gas is still going to be there for the next 20 years, and I think hybrid is the next thing somewhere on there. Then maybe EV, but I'm not 100% sure. And as for Tesla staying in the lead, I think all depends on how aggressive automakers are going to go after EVs. If they really say EV is the next play, I don't think so. Not a chance in my eyes. If they don't, he's going to be leading that industry until they start to step in. That's my prediction.
Okay. One last thing is I see Amazon with their fleet of electric trucks now. When you got all these big corporations now who require a fleet getting into it, you don't know.
You don't know. We'll see.
We will see. We'll come back on this in 20 years.
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
But it's definitely interesting for sure, because there's a lot. People are even taking not even having cars. So many more people I know who live in the city don't have cars because of Uber, which is another, obviously tech company, Uber
Right.
and Lyft. But
Well, and that's another thing. See, that's the whole battle that we don't see, right? Like, if now all of a sudden Uber somehow gets paid to start pushing electric vehicles, like they're slowly starting to change the demand of what someone is buying, right? Or what needs to be made, right? And that seems to be the case, right? Not only government is trying to push EVs, but then you got companies like Uber that are trying to push the agenda of, making all their drivers have electric vehicles. So it's like, that's the battle that you don't see. It all depends, again, always comes down to the money, right? Who creates more of the demand? That's when that will happen. Because if the things behind the scenes don't happen, I don't think EVs are going to come in anytime soon. But if those things align with what EVs are trying to do, or those companies that, make electric vehicles, then I think that's when it changes the game and they will come in quicker.
I think so. Till next time.